Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 29th of January 2020, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, a few of the setups. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, also, just before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. And of course our JD Bank website, and specifically our JD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So if you go on jdbank.com and click on the research tab right here, and it will take you to this page, which, like I said, you might find useful. Right, now then, let's jump into the charts, guys. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the Nasdaq100. Now, yesterday we saw a bit of a correction here, back to the upside. So again, for now, the big question here is this actually a correction just before another leg of selling, or will this actually lead further north? For now, of course, we're keeping an eye on the whole development around the coronavirus and how everything's getting along there, and let's say the progress on the let's say finding cure and how the disease the disease can be maintained or is maintained, I would say. But from the technical picture here, you can see that the index traveled back above the 9,080 zone. So I talked about this one previously, and what I was saying, that if we get a push back above the 9,080 zone, there could be a possibility for this one maybe to drift further north. The only little problem here is, and looking at this 4-hour chart, is the you can see the 20 SMA kind of acted as a nice area of resistance. So on one hand, it is still balancing slightly above the 21 EMA, but on the other hand, the 20 SMA is keeping the price down a little bit. Looking at the cash index right now, we are seeing actually a nice push already above this, so basically we will have ourselves a nice opening here, a gap to the upside here, not a huge one, but nevertheless this would place the price above the 20 SMA, and in a way, this scenario that I've described previously, if we get a push above the 9,080 zone, is kind of working out nicely for now. Of course, still we'll be very careful around here, because again, if it does push higher, it may lead towards the highest point, or I should say the all-time high, near the 9,272 mark, and then we'll take it from there. For now, we are going to aim only for that territory, but then again, do not exclude a possibility, for example, to see a reversal earlier to the downside, because for now, overall, we're still trading above this medium-term upside support line taken from the low of the 3rd of October, but again, as if this move higher was seen as a temporary correction only, then we may see a drift back down towards this upside line. So that's basically from the short-term perspective. In order for us to aim for deeper extensions to the downside, well, this upside line would need to be broken. But again, for now, that's for now, we'll, like I said, we'll only consider a move higher. Again, we'll be very careful with this one, just because it will be quite interesting to see if the index can reach the all-time high, this previous all-time high, or not the previous, but the current all-time high. For now, basically, long story short, guys, keep your eyes on this one. If this suddenly starts reversing back down and drops below the 9,080 territory, well, I mean, brace yourselves. We could see maybe a drift lower here, potentially towards this medium-term upside support line. So keep your eyes on this one, and let's see how this is going to play out. Right. Gold. Now, gold overall continues to balance still above this medium-term upside support line, or actually still maybe still a short-term one, taken from the low the 26th of November, but there is a even shorter upside line here, which is taken from the low of the 14th of January. Now we'll keep an eye on this one. You can see that it's still hanging above it, so there is still a chance for the bulls to push this one to the upside. The only thing is, at this point in time, probably to be more on the safe side, we'll wait for a push above the 1588 zone before examining further upside, because this way a push above this level would place the price above the high of the 26th of January, and this would confirm a forthcoming higher high. And yes, we could aim for these higher levels, like even the 1612 mark, which is currently the highest point of January. So keep your eyes on this one. In terms of the downside, for us to consider a deeper correction, because again, all this move lower could still be part of a deeper correction, because we are still above this upside line taken from the low of the 26th of November. But in order to consider that deeper correction, we will wait for a drop below the 1551 zone, roughly around there, guys, and only then target further decline. So for now, be very careful with this one, be very cautious, and yep, let's see. Also keep your eyes on the equity markets. Ethereum now. Quickly on that, this has tried to make its way higher. It tried to overcome this barrier right here, the 179 zone, but which is the high of the 18th of January, and in a way, for now, that's the highest point of January so far. We still have a few days left in January, so let's see if the crypto can actually push further north. For now, you can see that the crypto is still balancing above this little tentative, short-term tentative upside line here, taken from the low of the 2nd of January. But again, all these lines are still very tentative, because again, they only have 2 touches. So again, I mean, we could keep an eye on them for now. Don't focus on them too much, but the main focus right now should fall on this barrier, the 179 zone. If it breaks, then yes, this could open the path towards higher levels. We could then aim for the let me just quickly put this on the chart. We can then aim for the 186 territory, which is the high of the 17th of November, and then we'll take it from there. For now, like I said, we'll keep it short and simple. If we do get a push above the 179 mark, then yes, aim for the 186 territory. In terms of the downside now, from the very short-term perspective, if this suddenly falls below the this little area right here near the 170 zone, then yes, we will aim for the downside. But again, the downside might get limited near these 2 upside lines that I've drawn, both tentative, but nevertheless we'll keep an eye on them. But if those get broken, well, I mean, deeper declines could be possible. For now, we're leaning more towards the upside, but for us to get a little bit more comfortable with the upside, we need that push above the 179 zone. GBPAUD. So I've talked about this one recently as well, and basically it's, for now, it's working out nicely. So after breaking this 1.9225 level that I talked about recently, it drifted higher, but kind of didn't really reach our target here near the 1.9387. It drifted back down, so we were kind of expecting this potential move lower. And what I was saying, that if this area here, the 1.9225, previously acting as a good resistance, if this time it acts as a fantastic area of support, well, we could see a nice rebound and a push back to the upside. For now, that's happening exactly. So we are seeing this rebound. The only question, can this last? And if it can, then yes, we will aim for the 1.9387 zone, a break of which could lead towards the 1.9523 mark, which is currently or not currently, but is the highest point of December. So for now, guys, the highest point of January is this one, this high right here, the high of Monday. near the 1.9354 mark. So if that gets if the pair overcomes that one, then yes, we will aim for higher levels. For now, keep your eyes on this one. If this suddenly falls back below the 1.9225, all this zone will be for us somewhat of a neutral one, because for us to get excited about slightly lower levels, ideally a drop below the 1.1992 zone would be required. So that's why then we would aim for this upside line here. And by the way, the upside line is a medium-term upside line taken from the low of the 30th of July. So is that just to double check very quickly, that's the 30th, and that is the 30th of July. So something to keep an eye on basically, but again, we would need to see this one drifting below the 1.9092 zone, 1.1992, before considering a possible test of this medium-term upside line. For now, everything's leaning more towards the upside. Let's see if the bulls can push this one higher. For today, for example, you can keep an eye on continue monitoring this pivot, which is roughly around the 1.9279. If that gets broken, then yes, we could aim for higher levels. USDCHF, now I've talked about this one yesterday, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this barrier right here, the 0.9762, because if this gets broken, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and yep, we could see higher levels being met. That said, if the rate struggles to push above that, now we could be getting ourselves somewhat of a range here. Now on the upside it would be an ideal touch here, but on the downside it would be a little bit like an area here. So that's why, but nevertheless still a range. So for now, guys, keep your eyes on this 0.9762 zone. Of course, we are leaning more towards the upside, a bit of upside, because again, overall the bigger picture here is that the pair continues to trade below this medium-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 28th of April. So in a way, this move higher could still be seen as a temporary correction before another leg of selling. That's why, guys, but again, from the very short-term perspective, do not exclude a possibility of seeing a hold up here and then a move lower. And if something like that happens, then, well, then yes, we could see a move back down towards this lower side of the range. So keep your eyes on that one. And the last pair for this session is going to be the euro dollar. Now, I talked about this one this morning, but not much has changed. So it did drift a little bit below the psychological 110 zone, but didn't quite reach the 1.0980 territory. So again, we'll keep an eye on that one. Still, now we can kind of consider this potential idea where it may drift a little bit further down, test the 1.0980, and then rebound and push back towards this very short-term downside resistance line taken from the high of the 16th of January. Until then, to be honest, for now we would just probably stay somewhat neutral, or just stay aside and just continue observing this, because for the downside, I mean, to target even lower levels, it could be a little bit tricky, because we are quite overstretched on the shorter time frames to the downside, and we are near this key area of support near the 1.0980. So that's why we're gonna leave the kind of the downside scenario. We would consider the downside if we get a nice push back up here, but then a rejection near the this very short-term downside resistance line. So this would be an ideal scenario for us. Of course, if this downside line gets broken, then in a way the pair could travel a little bit higher here towards this other downside line, and then we would take it from there, see what it wants to do after. If it wants to break it, that's wonderful for the bulls, but if it wants to, if it gets a hold up here, then another round of selling could be possible. For now, let's keep it short and simple. All eyes are on the 1.0980. If it holds, we could see something like this, where we could see a bit of a correction here back to the upside. But again, the upside move here could be short-lived due to this very short-term downside resistance line. So keep your eyes on this one. Okay, guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. If you want to join me tomorrow morning, as always, at my Traders Espresso, 7 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a beautiful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.